They say you never know who someone is until you walk a mile in their shoes. And there are times when discovering who you really are is a journey in itself. The Centers for Disease Control says 1 million adults in our country identify as transgender, with a gender identity that is different than their sex assigned when they are born. In the past year, I have followed a Newburgh resident on his path to become who he feels he really is. It's a story you will only see on RTV6.
It's like the person I was always supposed to be.
This is a huge step for 22-year-old Ryan Ollier. He's in Indianapolis for his first follow-up appointment since his surgery 6 weeks ago. Do you feel like you got what you needed out of this?
I do. I've felt a lot happier. Went from not just having insecurities about my body, I feel more attractive.
This has been quite the emotional and physical journey for him. I first met Ryan in the fall of 2018 in his hometown of Newburgh, Indiana. Back then, it was hard to tell what stage of gender transition he was in.
See, I've been on testosterone for over 2.5 years, so my voice has dropped. It's still a little higher, and I've got facial hair, obviously, and that helps. I feel a lot safer. Because when I was first transitioning, it's scary.
Ryan was not always Ryan. He was born female and named
Jenny.
About 3,000 people live in Newburgh. It's a small town with a religious presence almost everywhere you turn. Ryan asked us to meet him at the public library, a place where he felt safe and could have privacy while telling us how he got to this point in his life. At the time, he was waiting for his insurance company to approve funding for what's known as top surgery to make his chest look more masculine.
And I'll honestly, every so often, I'll just kind of not think about it and I'll forget. And then I'm like, oh yeah, that's still there.
Growing up as Jenny, Ryan experienced feelings of gender dysphoria his whole life, but didn't always have a name for it.
And a lot of times I really didn't know what felt wrong. Just like something's not right. And I was always very uncomfortable with my body.
Jenny would stray away from dresses and wear baggy clothes to school to hide her feminine chest. This led to bullying.
About 16, I tried to be really more effeminate, and it was very fake. I tried. It was just very fake, and it wasn't. It was just kind of, I tried. I was like, okay, I'll just make myself act this way, and it just didn't work.
At 17 years old, something clicked. Jenny accepted she is transgender, a boy trapped in a girl's body.
I felt like I should have been a boy, but I was like, but that's not supposed to be how this works.
Accepting this was a milestone, but just the first step. What came next was even harder.
I didn't come out to my parents for several months, and then that kind of...
The person they saw as their daughter, Jenny, for nearly 2 decades, stood before them as a young man.
No, they still really don't understand. I know my mom is just very, she's like, I don't know what's going on here, but I love you and I always will, and I'm still here for you. And my dad, I think he's just very upset and scared.
The next couple of years, Jenny searched for ways to feel more comfortable, and she knew her name had to go.
It's very hard to name yourself.
Ryan was the right fit. He started taking hormones and using the men's restroom. His coworkers at a pet store supported him through the transition, but Ryan needed something more.
You have an image of your body in your head, and then it's like you look in the mirror and it's like what you feel like you should be seeing in the mirror is not there, and it's very confusing.
Ryan decided on top surgery, also known as a transgender mastectomy, a common procedure for transgender men. The chest is visually one of the most obvious indicators of a person's gender.
I don't get nearly as much of the bottom dysphoria as I do the top, just because, it's not something it doesn't bother me as much, whereas some people it really does.
Yeah.
Mine is mainly just with my chest.
Particularly, I really have a soft spot, obviously, for the transgender guys, so to do the masculoplasty or the chest surgery for them. Oftentimes it's so gratifying, the whole effect changes and they kind of, swagger out of our office.
Dr. Sive Gallagher is the director of the Gender Affirmation Surgery Program at IU Health. The plastic surgeon started the program in 2015 with only 2 patients that year. Now, the program gets up to 90 consults a month and has performed 280 procedures. Dr. Gallagher says her aim is to help transgender individuals find peace and live comfortably in the body they feel is right.
The dark side of gender dysphoria is if it's not treated appropriately, patients suffer intensely and oftentimes will try and take their own lives. And we see a very high suicide rate if patients aren't treated appropriately.
10 years ago, the American Medical Association recognized gender dysphoria as a serious medical condition, making gender affirmation surgeries medically necessary procedures.
It goes so much further beyond vanity. This isn't vanity for patients by any means. This is, as the patients will describe, as life-saving work. It's certainly life-changing. It's very affirming for the patients.
How are you?
Good.
It's been a while.
Yes, it has.
You all set?
Ryan's insurance finally cleared. The week before Christmas, he got the call from Dr. Gallagher's office that there was an operating room open for him.
I'm excited, but I'm a little nervous. But I'm ready for it.
Well, that sounds like it was a very long wait. You had a chance to speak to Ryan's mom.
Yes, I did, Mark, and she talked to me openly and honestly about her mixed emotions regarding Ryan's surgery and his transition. So you will hear from her tomorrow night at 11 o'clock. You'll also hear from Ryan after his procedure and a mental health professional who offers resources for transgender individuals and their families.